When it comes to Christmas Angel, it unfortunately wastes the lead story and compensates for your usual cute romantic holiday movie type stuff where there's a sort of rough transition from the ex who doesn't deserve to leave to this new person who is almost everything they could ever want. To summarize the film, Angel St. James grew up in a foster home, and around the time she was 17, she ran away because she never got officially adopted, and while singing on the street, she got discovered. Fast forward a couple of years, she is now engaged to her music producer, EJ, and it seems like they are like a major power couple. But the problem is that Angel and EJ, they're not necessarily in love. EJ sees the potential of their relationship, especially in terms of, the power couple look. But in terms of Angel, she's not feeling it. She wants to have that sense of family that she didn't grow up with, and EJ can't even show up for their anniversary. So after a fight, she goes on a drive, ends up in a small town, and that's when she meets Calvin, as well as Calvin's daughter Liz. Now, Calvin is a paralegal by trade, but he also owns a bunch of little houses across the town, and he volunteers a lot. But here comes the issue. Between Calvin being a single father with his former sister-in-law very much involved in his daughter's life, combined with Angel being a type who, I won't say she's dependent on EJ in terms of thinking that he's the key to her success, but there's time and there's investment there that makes it so even though she gets to have a lot of fun with Calvin and gets to kind of live vicariously through Liz and even really bond with her, eventually there comes a point when you have to question, is she going to leave Calvin behind or is she going to leave EJ behind, and which kind of happiness is she going to choose? The one that her career has given her or the one that this new man in her life has given her? And all things considered, they're still very much in the honeymoon phase, so is it worth giving up what she's worked for thus far on a infatuation potentially? With that said, I have to admit, I do like Calvin and Angel, and it's because, yes, Calvin definitely fits that Boris Kojo attractive man who looks like he can be in a 90s R&B video look. But there are certain flaws when it comes to Calvin that I also appreciate. One is the man can't really hold his liquor. I mean, he gets drunk at least once or twice, gets into a little fight though, rightfully so because somebody was really pushing up on Angel and want to back the hell off. And with that, you can kind of appreciate that he's not the most perfect person. And at the same time, it's also interesting to watch Angel pursue him rather than him pursue her. And I want to say part of it is because he's very much aware of who EJ is, but at the same time, a part of me also thinks like, yeah, he may look like he's a GQ, Ebony, or whatever model, but he's not necessarily the most suave either. I mean, he has a look, clearly has a kid, so he won somebody over once before, but I don't know. It's one of those situations where it's a bit different than what you usually get in terms of the perfect man wooing this woman who deserves better. So because it has that little bit of difference in it, we're able to get into it a bit more, even with the whole kind of rough transition between her going on a break from EJ to now falling in love with this man. As for the second highlight, it's Liz. The actress who plays her, I think her name is Iris Gasper. She's adorable. And she's that type of adorable that you could only hope that she starts to guest star and maybe even get her own show amongst the Paramount networks, whether it's Nickelodeon. Does Paramount still own Nickelodeon? Either way, I'm just hoping that she's more than this just adorable kid who showed that her father had sex once and gets to really become something, because let me be very clear. Liz isn't just a character who says cute little one-liners and is adorable. It's because of her that you really understand that Calvin lost somebody. She's the reason you can understand that Calvin is a man who is awkward because he lost his wife, who's probably the first woman who really loved him, who really kind of appreciate his corniness. And without that, he's kind of lost, and in a way, so is Liz. Because even though she has her aunt is much more stern than her father, and I wouldn't say is the most maternal person on a regular basis. She's dependable, but she isn't someone who can give that maternal feelings that, Liz has been missing compared to Angel, who is somebody who is very sweet, a little bit jokey, and not only lights up her life, but also her dad's life. And I would even say in some ways, yes, Angel and Calvin are cute on their own, but when you include Liz in it, it goes from a relationship that's just cute because it's two attractive people to what looks like a potential family. With all that said, I have to admit, after seeing so many holiday movies, especially after OWN and BET really started to pump them out every year, a part of me strongly feels like I could do without the romantic plots. And what makes Christmas Angel so frustrating in terms of focusing on a romance rather than the individual lead story is that Angel's been through a lot. And on top of that, she has a whole plot that kind of gets downplayed, if not outright ignored. She has this foster sister who recently died from overdosing, and she has perhaps what can be considered survivor's guilt about that, since she didn't show up when her sister called on her. And on top of that, she's trying to meet her birth mother, who plays such a small role in this, even though it seems like that would be such an interesting thing to play out. She gave up her daughter when she was young. She's now an older woman, sees her daughter's doing well, and doesn't want to come off like, the usual leech type who just comes out of nowhere, wants to suck off the success, but instead is still staying away despite how many Grammys or number ones her daughter has. And I would even argue, just to keep Liz in the fold, it would have been interesting if we got rid of Calvin, made Liz like Angel's little sister, and we had to watch Angel kind of reconcile the idea that her foster sister died, her mother's now doing well and is giving everything she should have had and wanted throughout her whole life to this little girl's her sister, so she's kind of jealous of her, yet at the same time wants to live vicariously through her, and then she has to be the star, so she's trying to be both the big sister that this little girl deserves, still try to be the superstar, yet I also have to deal with all these negative emotions because her mom gave her up and now is everything to this kid. This kid, while wonderful, has everything she has, and just, there's so much more that can be done with holiday movies beyond let's have this awkward transition from a bad boyfriend or girlfriend to this new person who they fall in love with, and then usually within a year or two end up married or something like that. Overall, yes, we wish Christmas Angel tapped more into Angel reconciling with her mom and losing her foster sister, so I can stand out amongst the various holiday movies which have a similar plot. But even with them leaving that on the cutting room floor, there's no denying the relationship with Angel and Calvin is cute, and then when you add in Liz into the mix, it makes Christmas Angel definitely a quality holiday film to watch this year.